Okay, so in today's example, we've been taking on the holy grail of STLs, highly organic, non-regular shapes that you want to have be completely editable. When you bring them in, one of the first things you'll usually recognize is they have millions of mesh elements. You'll need to reduce them using the reduce mesh command in the edit mesh environment. This will reduce the overall number and you're going to have to be very aggressive. After you do this, you can use the command to remesh to make that mesh a little bit more accurate, and you get something that looks like this. Now, you could go and convert this automatically, but usually most of these things will have elements you don't want. Using commands in the mesh environment and making liberal use of the mesh palette command, you can select as many of these inner elements as you can possibly get to through this hole I made at the bottom. We're going to close that hole later, but I wanted to get that inside area, and then I use the shift up key to expand this area, and this takes a while. It's not fast, but you can select gradually and then press the delete key to get rid of all those extra elements. This makes for a pretty clean inner model. Next, I selected this outside edge, and there may be other ways to do this, but I selected this outside edge where I had this hole that I created because there's a lot of rough surfaces down there that I don't want anyway. I don't think that's going to be important for my use of this model. So I selected this entire outside edge, and I used the command erase and fill. So it will actually erase those elements that I put in there, and it will try to fill this using a smooth connection between the outside edges that are left. Now, this is still not smooth enough, and I'm trying to get this less complicated so that my T-Spline elements that later will come out of this will be as simple as possible, and I'll have something that I could actually manage to edit. So I select more of these elements using, again, the painting command of the mesh palette, and then I use the command smooth, which you'll see pop up here in just a second. Now, the smoothing command will smooth to a certain degree, but don't forget you can use it multiple times on the same elements to smooth and then smooth again and then smooth again. The only thing left to do after this is to create a solid mesh, which is that last command you just saw, and this closes all small holes and makes this a closed surface. This is important for my use later when I would like to have a watertight T-Spline. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. It's a command in the mesh environment. My next task will be to convert these three-sided mesh elements into four-sided mesh elements. And I'm going to do that by saving out an STL from Fusion and opening this in Recap Photo. Recap Photo is an Autodesk product. It costs about 40 bucks a month. There may be other softwares out there that do this as well, but I don't know them. I use this one, and it has a couple of nice features. Number one, these things, because they're organic, have no regular geometry. They're often just out there in space. So one of the first things that Recap Photo will do for me will place this thing on the origin. And that's actually harder to do than you might imagine for a lot of STLs. So that's quite nice. It puts it in a usable coordinate system. The next thing is very easy. All I have to do is export this, and there is actually an export command for four-sided quads for Fusion. This turns those three-sided mesh elements into four-sided mesh elements, and that's what we have to have in order to be able to convert this seamlessly to a T-Spline. Now, this does take a long time. You have to be online to do it. It's using a crap ton of server power. But once you get it done, you can open that new STL in Fusion. You got to go into the form environment, and within the form environment, you can select the command convert, and one of the commands in there will be convert four-sided quads to a T-Spline. And you do this, and then your computer starts to smoke for about 4 or 5 minutes, and after that, you have a normal T-Spline. It's likely this T-Spline is going to put quite a load on your system because despite all the work we did, there's a lot of elements. This is a dicey workflow. It's got almost as many disadvantages as advantages, but in certain cases it can be really helpful, and Fusion's one of the only softwares I know that can do it. Now, I hope this was useful for you, and as always, good luck.